PhD student?
Yes, PhD candidates.
PhD student, candidates, PhD student. Ah, perfect. From University of Verona, Prof. Venturelli as supervisor, fantastic. So if everything goes wrong, it's full. Gianluigi DORELLI, he will present us, determinants of mechanical efficiency across different exercise intensities. Stage is yours.
Good afternoon and thank you for the invitation. It's really nice to be here because I graduated in medicine here. So you hear me? Okay, perfect. So today I will speak about mechanical efficiency. So basically how a subject is able to transform metabolic energy into an actual work. So we can calculate efficiency like a gross efficiency, the ratio of the actual work, or the work and the energy, or the net efficiency if we want to isolate the effect of exercise. We know, and this is something that we all knew, that efficiency depends strongly on oxidative capacity of the muscle, so type 1 fibers, the percentage of type 1 fibers, and mitochondrial DNA. So, but are we sure? Usually, to measure efficiency, you of course need a steady state. So, efficiency or all these studies were always done using intensity that are below the critical power. So, we tested. So we wanted to test if changing intensity, the determinants, the biological determinants of efficiency can change. So, but to do this, of course, we needed to test a way to measure efficiency also for high intensity, so without having a steady state. This is how we do the study. We designed the study with 3 steps. The first step, we did a maximal test on a semi-recumbent bike. Then on the second day, we did an incremental test with 3 steps of 6 minutes each at 25, 50%, and 75% of the peak power output. And during the steps, we collected the cardiac output using ultrasound, femoral blood flow using ultrasound, the metabolic, values, the heart rate, and lactates. And on the third day, we perform a vastus lateralis muscle biopsy to measure the anatomy, to do the capillarization, fiber section area, and fiber typing of the muscle, but also mitochondrial respiration. So this is just a conceptual framework of how we want to find a way to measure efficiency during high-intensity exercise. Of course, we do not have a steady state, so we decided to measure, instead of using the power, we decided to measure the total energy expenditure and the total work produced. So, if I want here, so we decided to calculate the area of the aerobic contribution, and also we estimated the anaerobic contribution. And these are the equation that we use. Of course, we know we have 3 systems to produce energy, and if we shift from the power to energy, so of course we have an energy from the oxidative metabolism, where we use the time integral of the net oxygen consumption and the gross oxygen consumption. Then we estimated with equations that are present in literature the alactic component of the anaerobic metabolism, and then you use the lactates equivalent of oxygen to have an idea of the anaerobic lactic metabolism. So, and these are the results. These are the metabolic results, the hemodynamic results, and also here you can see the energy, the contribution for each metabolism for the 3 intensity. Of course, you can see here that anaerobic metabolism is very low, which is less than 3%. So, and we know also we have the results of the muscle immunofluorescence. We have the capillarization, the green dots. Then we have the type 1 fiber, the purple ones, and the type 2 fibers. And also here we have the results from mitochondrial respiration with the data normalized for wet tissue, but also flash control ratio, which is a normalization to have an idea of the intrinsic mitochondrial function. And this is the result of our model. We know that steady state is the gold standard to measure mechanical efficiency, but we wanted to test it if, considering that probably our model underestimates a little bit the energy consumption, if there is some differences. Of course, there is a small increase in efficiency using the method with area under the curve, a little bit bigger efficiency, but which is, the bigger is 1%, but there is very high intra-class correlation between the two methods. So we can use it for our also to find the determinants of the biological determinants of efficiency. So, and this is just an exploratory heat maps where we can see that there are very less correlation with hemodynamics with efficiency, which is something expected. There is not too much correlation of the mitochondrial respiration, both absolute values or flux control ratio, but there is stronger correlation between the percentage of type 1 fiber, like fiber cross-sectional area, and also capillarization. But what we see here is the capillary are more important for low intensity, and the percentage of type 1 fiber, as expected, becomes more important for high intensity of exercise. And here you can see the raw data of the correlation. As you can see, the significance for the capillarization of type 1 fiber for low intensity, and the importance of type 1 fiber on the net efficiency. The importance of type 1 fibers in practice becomes higher when the exercise is high, for high intensity exercise. So in conclusion, we can say we know that efficiency is related to oxygen capacity, and also we show a way to measure the efficiency also for high intensity, or at least to estimate. The hemodynamics does not determine efficiency for no type of intensity, and the type 1 properties, instead of general oxidative capacity like the capillarization, the anatomy, and the density, are more important than intrinsic mitochondrial intrinsic function for determining efficiency. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer, and thank you for your attention.
Now I'm really walking slow also because I have my life in my hands. So.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Now, I was two questions. One, if you also normalize the data according to the metabolic threshold, so instead of using 20 to 50 and 70%, if you have an idea about the gas exchange.
Yes, we have it, but I didn't show it. Consider that, because of course, I mean, it depends also for the critical power, and we know that of course. But yes, all the subjects were above the 4 millimolars of lactate, so everyone was above the maximum lactate steady state. But we have this data. But
yeah, and second one is if you. So what was the reason to combine the three intensities together in one exercise? I may see for the biases and so on, but if you think that this can in some way affect your results because you are one domain together with the other.
Yes, of course, I agree with your point. The point is that we wanted to reach fast the steady states, so of course having a primary effect of the previous exercise maybe that we had helpful instead of starting from resting. And also another reason is that we want to find an easy way. We know, I mean, the contribution of anaerobic component was very small, and this was something new. So I agree that this is not the proper way to measure efficiency, and I think we all agree, but we want to find something that was very similar to that. So this is why, and considering that we calculated the area under the curve, we can capture all the changes, how fast the slow component is growing, and so on. This is why.
Yes, very shortly. Looks quite obvious to my mind. Quite obvious to my mind that if you know the overall energy expenditure and you know the overall mechanical work, you can obtain exercise efficiency. So, the question becomes, what's the need of doing all these measurements to obtain a result which is already known to be the case, and you can much more easily obtain from a simple relationship between oxygen consumption and power computing delta efficiency as defined by George Brooks.
Yes, I know, but the point is that you need a steady state to do that. You need a steady state. I know that the problem is that for high intensity we do not have a steady state, so this is why we prefer to calculate the area. I know it's more complicated, but if we do an exercise above the critical power, probably we have up to at a certain level that after 4 minutes then that level is higher. So this is why we wanted to do these methods, because we don't have a steady state, so it can be at...
We produce much bigger mistake by determining those parameters with all the assumptions you have to make.
Yes, I agree. It's approximation, but at least conceptually, if you do the area, you can capture the changes of the two slow components, and I totally agree with you, but if you do the area, you can capture all the changes of the aerobic components, so probably it is more precise to see how it changes during the time. This is why, but I agree.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. I'm here. I wanted to ask, to calculate total energy expenditure, you need to set two integration extremes and to choose them. I want to ask which integration extremes you chose and why.
0, so the start of the step and the end of the step. For each step, we have the energy expenditure, the conversation using the Weir equation. So we have the net energy expenditure and the gross energy expenditure, and we calculated the integral of that, the area. And so we have the total energy expended for that exercise. And then we did that with the total power output produced in that time.
Okay, so you put the right extreme at the end of the exact end
of each step.
Okay. Why did you? Or, yeah, why this choice?
Because, as I said before, like I said, for high intensity, there's no steady state. So this is why, I mean, this was our idea. If you want to measure sort of efficiency, that 6 minutes, probably this was the most, at least conceptually, we think that was the best idea, because if you measure the steady state at 3 minutes, I mean, you do not have steady states, but if you average 3 minutes or 6 minutes on travel, wherever you want, the values of your tube will change. So that will affect your efficiency, your measurements.
Okay, thank you.
The new name of the lab. Because there are biological building 1, biological.
I'm not sure of what you said, and I would suggest to read Francesco's last paper on the Procedural Rate Society 2024 about the time integral and the efficiency, real measured efficiency during walking. And you can see that the different length of the exercise will give different value of efficiency when you do the proper integration. If you do the wrong integration, accordingly, let's say, to Brooks' idea of having the time integral of only the exercise, you can have an efficiency up to 100%. That exactly makes no sense. So
you say catching also the off phase?
It's quite very important to do that, yes. The other thing is that you're lucky enough, in my opinion, because if you show that is that 3 to 5% of lactate something.
Actually, it was 2.5%.
Perfect, so it's totally negligible and it's only oxygen consumption. So
yeah, but I agree. In fact, I think that the question we should answer for that is not how efficient am I at that power out, but is how efficient am I at that power out for how long, for how much time.
Yeah, so if you go shorter, you will get a very high efficiency if you use your model, I think, but I could be wrong. Yeah. Thank you very much.